When something looks effective, nobody, and I mean nobody in the crowd or watching at home can say that that is bullshit. Because professional wrestling, as I said, we know it's a work, but it doesn't mean that you have to do bullshit just because it's a work. It has to look plausible. It doesn't have to look real. It needs to look plausible. And if you do something that the people watching at home and in the crowd, in the attendance, say, well, I know it's a work, but no matter what, I wouldn't be on the receiving end of that shot, that move, whatever it is. You have to gain respect in what you do. And by doing what you do, you have to keep people interested and to make them feel that what you do is legit. It can really hurt somebody. Okay? And it's plausible. It's done in a way that looks real. It doesn't need to be real. It has to look real. Let's go on. Birch, though, because on the other team we have Danny Birch and Oni Lorcan. Birch, I don't know if you will ever listen to this podcast, but I would like to tell you something. Man, you do too many elbow shots and headbutts and too much general striking. Really. If after 6 elbows you don't have your opponent bleed, or your opponent doesn't have visible bruises, or is even knocked out, I have something to tell you, guy. It looks fake. It is the same reason because superkick parties like the Young Fox do back at AEW are bullshit, total bullshit. And here is why also, in the professional wrestling business, the working punch, when you close your fist and you give it, you smack it on the face of your opponent, is considered illegal. Why the working punch is considered illegal in a wrestling match? Because it exposes the business. When you throw a very fake-looking punch, or your opponent sells it horribly, you expose the business. You make people think that is bullshit, that is fake, that is something not worthy to witness. This is why, also back in the day, people that were not able to do a professional wrestling match, at least in a decent way, were filtered out. Nowadays, everybody is a wrestler. They buy a costume, a pair of boots, and they think they are a wrestler. And they are unprepared, untrained, and really untalented. But they are there. Now, Birch has talent, but there is still this thing that I was talking about. It has to look plausible. We live in the era of UFC. Let me tell you this. The biggest problem of today's wrestling and just giving shots after shots to your opponent is that we live in the era of UFC. People can see exactly in a mainstream way, because it's worldwide, everybody knows UFC. Okay, everybody knows UFC, or at least MMA. Everybody can see exactly what happens if you deliver a punch correctly to the face of somebody. Either they got busted open pretty bad, or they get knocked the fuck out. If you have this type of comparison, what do you think they're gonna think if they look something that is repeated over and over and over and over and doesn't produce any effect whatsoever on your opponent? They think it's fake. I think that professional wrestling should evolve and take into account the historical period in which it is, but also what happens around the world. Back in the day, we could, as far as mainstream sports are concerned, we could make comparison with boxing. But you could get out with the fact that they have gloves, this and that. Now it's not like that. Okay? You also have that it is coming up in popularity also bare knuckle fight. So you don't have that luxury to say we are in a completely different environment. No, if you do the same thing, or at least something that should produce the same result, and you don't produce the same result, Either you look really, really weak and unable to hurt the fly, or it screams fake. This is why you shouldn't absolutely do bullshit in the ring, and you should take into account that you have to be plausible with everything you do. You don't have to make a match and in the build of the match you just forgot to make it plausible. Every shot counts. Keep it short. Just a couple of those. And then you can do forearms on the back. You can do a lot of mat wrestling. You can perform moves. Just don't do too many shots that expose the business. For fuck's sake. This is the most important thing that they don't teach anymore, apparently. Let's talk about something else.